Gray, and I got a lesson for you around how to leverage this new capability of Claude in Chrome, because a lot of times our agentic tasks start in the browser, or there might be steps in our multi-step workflow that requires a browser to kind of take action and execute some steps. So I'm really excited to be able to share this with you. And there's actually 3 different ways that we can leverage this Claude in Chrome capability. The first one is in the native Chrome browser. The second one is in Claude Desktop, and the third one is in Claude Code. We're going to look at all 3 of these so that you get a good idea of, given your scenario, which of these 3 methods are going to work best for you. And so to leverage this capability, you do need to be on a Claude paid plan. It only works in the Google Chrome browser, so the other Chromium browsers will not work. And then it requires your desktop. So at least today, you're not going to be able to run this in a mobile browser on your phone. Okay, so let's look at what we need to do to get set up. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go and install the Chrome extension. And where that is, if you go to the Chrome in Claude website, you're going to click on this link, Add to Chrome. And what that's going to do, it's going to take you to, and you're going to add this. You're going to click on this. Of course, I've got mine enabled already, and it's going to ask you kind of a series of some questions. One is to be able to, you're going to click on this little kind of puzzle piece up there in the upper right, and you're going to kind of pin it so that that becomes available. And this is this little icon here, opening Claude, because that's what you're going to do to actually open up the pane where Claude is going to kind of present itself. And you're going to sign in with Claude so that it knows your account and you're a paid user. And then there's a number of permissions that you're going to need to set up for this to work in your browser. There is a long list of different permissions that are listed here. They're at the bottom here, but for Claude to work, there's a number of things that you're going to need to enable in the Chrome extension. Now, you've got full control over what Claude is going to do in the browser. And there might be certain sites that you give Claude access to read and so forth if it's low risk. And we'll make sure we go along and hit that as well. So that'll be the first thing that you do, is to get Claude up and running. And again, it's going to look like something like this in the upper right here, this little open Claude. Okay. And then once we get into it, we've got access to the 3 different Claude models. If you're doing something quick, use the Haiku. If you want something that has a little bit more expertise and deeper thinking, use Sonnet. And Opus is the model, which is their most capable. And this would be helpful if your workflow needs to reason through many kind of complex tasks. So that'll be up in the browser in the upper left. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's first start in Claude in Chrome. And again, there's kind of 3 different methods, even using just the browser extension. We're going to look at just purely prompting. We're also going to look at teaching Claude, and then we've got this concept of multi-tab workflows. So let's first look at this idea of prompting. So you'll see here there's this tab group. You see this kind of where it's orange. That means that Claude is active in that. And what I'm going to do is come up here and open up the kind of the browser pane, and this is where you're going to interact with Claude. Now, we're going to kind of cover a lot of the things that we can do. And one of the things that we can do, this is just an example of a site, which is my Google Analytics site. So what if I wanted to just go ahead and ask Claude to do something to give me some analytics? And of course, I could go and read these myself, but what if we wanted Claude to automatically kind of do that for us? So what we could do is just prompt it. I'm going to say review Google Analytics, summarize the following metrics: the number of active users over 28 days, the top 10 cities, and the top 5 pages in the last 28 days. And I'm just going to go and there's also a setting here: ask before acting, act without asking. I think in this case, right, there's nothing high risk here. So I'm just going to have Claude go ahead and think through this. So you'll notice it does paint the browser window kind of this orange. That means Claude is in control. And you'll see at the bottom here, this little stop Claude. If there's something going on where you just want to stop Claude, you can certainly do that. So what is it doing? It's kind of built up a plan, and it's actually going through and it's navigating. And as it navigates, one of the things it does is it does take these snapshots of kind of the pages as it goes through there, and kind of analyzes the pages and then starts to navigate, right? So you'll see here where it's looking at kind of the distribution of cities. So it's kind of just going down the task. Now I asked it to do 3 different things, and it's just go ahead and it's building up those three different things as it's going through the page. Now it's examining the kind of the complete list of pages by view. So again, you can actually see what's going on as Claude navigates to this, and then here we are with the results. And it went through these 18 steps over the last 28 days, 839 different users. Here are the top cities and the actual top pages, which this has always been number one, which is this free book from Naval Ravikant. So check that out if you're on my site. And so, yeah, there we go. Gives me a really good summary. So that is just purely through prompting. And one of the things that we can do if we wanted to go ahead and kind of save that, we could come up here to say convert to task. If this was one that we wanted to save and actually do multiple times. And so that's actually, and we'll go back to that, that's actually going to save that to our settings. Okay. So, and then if we want to create a new chat and just go ahead, what we can do is we can just go ahead and clear it. And so as I mentioned, one of the other things that you have here is going into your settings. And this is where you're going to see the permissions around which of these sites have you approved access for Claude to kind of take action, right? Browse, click, and type. These are some of the ones that I have granted access to Claude to be able to do that. And as I mentioned, this was the one shortcut. It's called a shortcut that we said to save as a task. And so this shortcut, you're going to see a slash, and it's going to be the name of the actual shortcut. Now, what that saved was the actual prompt that it actually saved. So you'll see here that it took what I kind of gave it and actually formatted it into a little bit more of a robust prompt here with numbered steps, kind of the actual actions to generate a summary. So this is in a little bit more detail, a little bit better than kind of what I put in there. And then you can go ahead and you can say save the shortcut. It will save the site. And then the other thing that you can do is if this task, this browser task, is something that you'd want to schedule, you could turn on the schedule here. Usually it's off, but you could go ahead and turn it on and say, hey, let's just say every Sunday where I want to get a summary, kind of this weekend close later in the day on Sunday for my business. I kind of look at all of the business metrics and so forth. So that is something where I could just say, hey, yeah, go ahead and run that every Sunday at 4 p.m. And it's actually going to run that task, and it's going to add that to my list of shortcuts. So that's one way that we can leverage Claude to go ahead and just purely through prompting. Again, no different than if you're in Claude itself. The other way we can leverage the Chrome extension is this idea of teaching Claude. A lot of times we actually kind of know the steps because it's generally something that we do manually. And so what we can do is we can use this teach Claude mode to do something very, very similar and actually describe the steps that we want Claude to take. So let's go look at that. And again, at any time, if we wanted to bring a task, or excuse me, a tab, and we'll look at this here in a couple minutes in terms of multi-tab workflows, we can do that. And again, it's where we see the kind of this colored thing here. Right now it's silver, which tells Claude like these are the ones that Claude has access to. Okay, so let's look at this example. I'm going to come here and clear the chat, and then we'll just turn this off, ask before acting. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to come down here and say teach Claude. Now, what this is that we're actually going to demonstrate through kind of our keystrokes, and we're going to describe the actions that we're taking as if we were teaching it to somebody who is, say, kind of new, and that recording as well as the steps will be kind of captured, right? So a lot of times, like, we know the different steps. There might be a little bit of nuance, and I think this is very helpful, again, when we have these things that we do in the browser, and we just want to encapsulate them so that we can orchestrate them, we can schedule them, and we can just have them done. So let's how this works. So we're going to click on Teach Claude, and again, we're going to describe the task that we're going to kind of do. I'll do something really kind of simple, just so that kind of in the interest of time, but we're going to start the recording. And what I'm doing here is I'm on Google Analytics, and what I want to do is I want to get a good idea of what the different cities of people who are visiting my site from. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to come down to demographic details. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and go to the cities. And this is where I've got over the last, I guess, month or so, 317 different cities. And so what I'd like to do is I would like to export the top 25 cities. And with that, export or create a report where we've got the number of active users for that session together with the city. So that's my task. So I'm going to hit done. And what that's going to do is it's going to generate the shortcut. Again, you'll notice it took pictures as I went through this. If there's a task, again, where you're doing some very tedious things, this will be very, very helpful. So let's look at what it did here. It created a shortcut, and we'll see how good it does. But it really kind of describes the steps here. And then the other thing that you can do is add some additional details here around kind of what you want, and you can just literally can type in here. So I'm going to say create a formatted list of the formatted, let's say, table list of the city and number of active users, right? And we'll see how good it does. And I'm not going to schedule this, but let's just go ahead and say create shortcut. And let's just actually go see how good it's going to do. I have no idea how good it's going to do, but let's just go ahead and we're going to run this. And these are kind of these shortcuts. You get to them by kind of slash. So if you hit slash, you'll get a list of all your shortcuts, and this becomes really kind of easy. So I'm going to just go ahead and see how good it does. And again, it's going to take control. And what it does here, it creates the plan of the steps it's going to do. And I'm just going to say, yeah, go ahead and improve the plan. And now you'll see, again, Claude is taking control of the browser. And it's basically going to go through and take control of the browser and go through essentially the steps. And you'll see that it's controlling the browser and selecting the kind of the number of cities for the dropdown. And then it's extracting the city data for the page. We'll see how good it does. All I'm asking here is a list of cities and the number of active users over this particular time frame. So we see it extracting the city data. And again, this would be really helpful. Think about all the different things that you do in the browser. Maybe it's going to some of your analytics or any kind of SaaS application where, again, pick something that's low risk, but also something that is repetitive. And this idea of teaching Claude and recording the steps, you may need to do it a couple times or tweak the instructions manually, but I think it's a really great way to encapsulate a task. I think it's also more efficient, right, than just giving a task to Claude, because a lot of times we know the steps and it could be pretty inefficient and generate lots of tokens when in cases where we just asked it to do something and it had to figure out, how to use the application, how to use the dashboard and so forth. So I would recommend kind of taking first the teaching Claude one. It'll probably give you a better result for actually kind of recording it. So here we see that it's organizing the structured data. It looks like it has somewhat of a technical issue. And that's the other thing. Just note that, this technology is very, very new. It likely is going to make mistakes. I've used a lot of times when I've run it, it's kind of run into kind of issues. It couldn't open a browser tab and things like that. So just know that it's not going to be super fast. It is going to maybe struggle in certain places. Here's something around kind of debugging the conditional logic, troubleshooting the filter issues. So again, it's kind of just going through its thinking. Okay, now we've got some results. So let's see what we got. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So there are the different, I think it was top 25 or whatever that I asked for. And 100 cities. Okay, interesting. Maybe in the instructions, maybe it did say 100 because actually that's what I did. I selected rows per page. So it just followed the instructions. All right, so there we go. So that is the kind of the record and being able to teach Claude the steps of your agentic process. We're in the browser, and we're just going to teach Claude how to do that. The other way is this idea of kind of multi-tab workflows. So let's see how that's going to kind of work. So think about this is that when we give access to a group of browser tabs, the key idea here is that Claude has access to the context across all three of those tabs. So I'm going to call up another browser kind of instance where I've actually got three tabs in there. And I think I might be able to get to it from there. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to bring this over here and I'm going to just... bring that over onto that. So let's look at what do we got here. So this was another browser instance, and you'll see here in this one, I've got three tabs within Claude and Chrome. You'll see this pink, right? You'll see that these three tabs. So what do I have here? I've got the Claude pricing, I've got the ChatGPT pricing, and I've got the Google Gemini pricing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and click, and this is where I'm going to ask Claude to kind of do some analysis. So I'm just going to copy this here, and I'm going to put a prompt that's fairly simple. I'm going to ask it to evaluate and summarize the features and pricing of Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, so that I can make a decision on what to subscribe to, right? So it has access to the 3 tabs, and hopefully it'll be able to answer kind of this question, right? So again, it's going to take control of the browser and it's going to go through, it's going to build the plan. And here it says, I'm going to allow these actions, Claude.com, ChatGPT, and Gemini, and it's just going to go through its plan, right? And this is true around really any agentic workflow. What makes them different, when we give them a goal, the first thing it's going to do, these agents, is they're going to build a plan, and they're going to look through and think about the goal that we've given it. It's going to build up a plan, and then it's just going to start executing step by step through that plan. Okay, so you'll see that again. It's taken control of the browser, and it's coming back with a response. Right. So what did it do? It actually read the content across those 3 tabs and answered this fairly simple thing around being able to evaluate the pricing and give me some kind of summary. And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it did, right? So you can imagine this could be really helpful on if you're a company and you wanted to do, let's say, competitive research. Maybe you've got these browser tabs of some of your competitors and their pricing and other things that you're going to monitor. That could really be handy. So there you go. And then once you have this, again, you can continue on with a conversation with Claude, no different than when you're in the browser. Okay, so this so far that we've gone through is purely within the browser. So let's look at the next way that we can kind of go through this. And this next method is in Claude Desktop plus Chrome. So think about this. There might be certain workflows where you want, and you want to leverage, let's say, Claude, you want to leverage the MCP servers, but what if one of those steps is actually a browser-based automation step, maybe doing something in LinkedIn and then coming back and then following in the next steps? Claude Desktop would be a really good approach for that. And I recommend installing, certainly in Claude, the mobile app is great. The desktop app is great. So one of the first things that you need to do with the desktop app is you need to install or configure this connect. If you go to connector here and then go to configure, you're going to turn on this connector, which is Claude and Chrome. You're going to come up here and you're going to go ahead and turn that on. And I can show you where what that looks like in mine, just so that you can kind of see kind of where it is. So in your settings, and I'm just going to get to it here on my other page here, get to your Claude and Chrome. And you're going to come down here under connectors. And this is where you're going to see Claude and Chrome right here. And you're going to go to configure. And this is what you're going to turn on. And that's going to give access to the Claude desktop app, to have access to your Chrome browser, to be able to leverage that extension and kind of execute tasks in the browser. So this becomes really kind of handy. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to do a new chat, and we'll see how that we can leverage it. Now, when you're in with the Claude desktop, you're going to, I'll turn some of these on, but what you're going to do is you're going to turn on kind of Claude in Chrome right there at the bottom, right? And so now what you can do is if you have a kind of a simple, or not even simple, but a multi-step workflow, and again, with one of those steps that you want to kind of have the browser, you want one of the workflow steps to be executed in the browser. Let's see how that is going to work. So I'm going to take a very simple kind of multi-step workflow. It's only 2 steps. But again, just to kind of demonstrate the concept, I'm saying, please run this workflow step by step, open x.com, locate the most recent post by Claude AI, write a Substack note for this post. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to execute it. And again, the only connector that I have on here right now is this Claude in Chrome. So we'll see how good it does. And let's see what it does. And when it does launch another kind of browser window, in this case, if it works properly, hopefully it'll open up x.com. Well, there we go. So it opens up the browser and we'll see how it does. Oh, there it goes. I'm not going to touch it. It's navigating to Claude. It used my, obviously I previously logged into x.com, so it does leverage your kind of login, and this could again be kind of really handy. So what does it do? It went to x.com, it leveraged my login, and then it's just going to here, and hopefully it will get and take the latest Claude post. And the next step that it would do would be to write a short, I think I said a short post. So let's actually see what it's doing kind of side by side here. It has the browser window open. It looks like it's going through and it's navigating through the steps. And as we go through this, you can see here that we can look through, if we want, and look at all of the kind of the agentic thinking that's going on. And it's essentially this chain of thought thinking where it's navigating through the task, given the goal that we've given it. And it's found, I guess, navigated its timeline. It's found the most recent post. And this is kind of another thing. You'll see we're already on 16 steps. So again, it can take a while to think through all these different kind of steps in the process. I think it'll become more efficient after time. So here's another thing that of what it did is that I asked it to write a Substack note. You'll notice here it says, "Hey, I'm reading the Substack. I'm reading this. I'm reading this Substack skill." And by the way, that was what popped up there, and we'll get to this, was actually one of these scheduled tasks, which was to go onto Slack and go look through different messages and DMs of people who've kind of asked questions and things like that. So here's what it did. Let's just kind of finish this out. Here's what that did. So it found the most recent post, and then it created a Substack note. There you go. Claude in Chrome just went live for all paid plans. That actually is the latest post here on December 18th. And then this could be something that I post out on my Substack of a note. So this could be really handy. Think about how you add value in your particular kind of role and the things that you do, sharing information, sharing kind of the latest and greatest in AI of how it can be applied is one of the things that I do. So this could be really handy to ensure that I'm staying on top of kind of really useful x.com posts. All the companies do this that I follow. And this could be a way for me to kind of accelerate as well as getting repeatability of a workflow task. So this is how it would work in Claude Desktop. Again, any kind of workflow where one or more of those steps involves a browser automation task, leverage your Claude Desktop to go ahead and do that. Okay. So it takes us to kind of the third kind of way that we can leverage the Claude and Chrome browser. And this just kind of came out as well. There's 3 different ways. And this is where we're going to leverage Claude Code, which I absolutely love. And I'm using it to build a web and mobile app. There's kind of three ways. One, the first one, we can just prompt in it. We'll go ahead and do that. The second is that if we're doing some building and we want Claude Code to open up a browser, evaluate a build, look for errors, that would be the second way. And then the third way is having and equipping sub-agents with access to the Chrome browser. We'll go through that as well. So in that last one, there could be sub-agents that you have that one of the tools that it needs is the ability to perform some agentic task using the browser, maybe going into LinkedIn, finding certain things, certain people, kind of related to your business. So let's look at each one of these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the Claude Code in the terminal, and I'm going to use that with the cursor tool. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to open up Cursor. Let me just get that. And I've opened up a window here, and I'm just going to come and kind of take you through a couple things. One is I'll start a new terminal session, which is here at the bottom. So I've created a new terminal session, and when we start, if we're going to leverage the Claude and Chrome extension, we need to, when we prompt it, we need to do Claude -- Chrome. Okay. And what that is going to do, that is going to kind of activate this Claude extension. So if we go to Claude in here, excuse me, not Claude, if we go to Chrome, and what we can do is we can see here, and I'd recommend you do that to ensure that it's set up. So you're going to see this status here. You're going to see that the extension is installed, and this tells us that we're ready to go, and we have the ability for Claude to kind of use that in the terminal. Now, this just shows up actually just like any other MCP server. So if we do MCP and we want to go to it, you'll see here that Claude and Chrome is just one of the MCP servers. So this is super cool. And if we want to actually see what all the different tools that the Claude and Chrome browser can do, we can just kind of cursor through all this, right? So there's, I think, there's 10 different, 11. Oh, there's actually more. Okay, I don't know. There's 17 different things that the Claude and Chrome extension can actually do. Okay, so this is super cool. It's integrated right into Claude Code. And so what is something that we can do? Well, one is what we can do is we can just have Claude do something really, really simple. Again, if we were just prompting it, again, just to get some experience of what it do, I'm going to ask it to go to Claude, this website, click on the search box, type something, and then tell me what the results you see. So again, if you have a task where you're looking to run this in with Claude Code, maybe this is a part of a workflow, maybe it's a part of an agent, but let's actually just see what's actually going to go on. So when it does this, it should pop up a browser window and start to navigate through and perform the steps that we have in our kind of goal that we've given it, right? So it actually, I think it's popped up in another window, which it has. I think it has up over here, and it looks like it's. Here, let me bring it over. It looks like it's just going to go ahead and say the page loaded. I've searched to the box. And it's actually typing through kind of the steps in the browser. So that's essentially what it's doing here. I think it's in this window here. Yeah, it's actually typing. You can kind of see as it kind of goes through, it's actually typing the things that you and I would do. I think it's said to itself, hey, the search box is open. And now I'm typing in the box, and that's what you can see in the right here. So it's going to continue to just do that. And there we go. We've got kind of the results of that particular step. So this just demonstrates in the terminal in Claude Code, it has the ability to open up browser windows, perform the steps, anything that you've kind of given it, and it does it just fine. So that's one way we can do it. The other option is if you are a developer and you're building something in Claude Code, which actually I am right now, having Claude Code open up the browser window. If, let's say you're building a browser-based app, which actually I am, one of the things that I could do is ask it to go and actually go and check kind of some output. So let's actually see what that would look like. So I'm going to I'm going to kind of bring back the my window here so that we can see how that's going to work. And what that's going to look like is it's going to be able to have Claude Code kind of open up a browser window and actually perform some of the steps in kind of the browser. Okay, so let's look at how that's going to work, and I'll just give you I'll show you an example of what that kind of looks like. So let's go to that next one. So here I'm going to ask it open up this website, which is one of the apps that I'm building, and then let me know if you find any errors. So I'm actually going to go to that particular app, and this is kind of what it looks like. Again, this is something that I'm building, and so I'm going to ask it. I'm just going to take that website link, and if I'm going through the build process, and if when we're building, a lot of times there's errors. So what we can do is we can have Claude Code open up the browser window, actually look in the console of the browser window to find errors. And so when you're developing, if you go F12, this is where the errors actually occur out here on the right. So I could ask Claude, hey, open up the browser window. Do you find any JavaScript errors and other things like that? And actually, if it did, I could actually ask it to identify all those errors. Maybe I might ask it to create some GitHub issues so that I can track those errors and then have actually it resolved. So how would we do that? Let's just go here, and I'm going to come back to Claude, and I'm going to say, please open that and let me know if you find any console errors, right? And again, console errors are all of the kind of the browser errors that occur anytime there's some issues with the coding and so forth. So what it's done is, let's see what it's going to do. It's opened up the browser window, which it has, and then it says that it's loaded the page successfully, and initial console found no errors. So there you go. This could be a very handy way, and I'm actually going to leverage this now that it's available in Claude Code. It wasn't, again, up until a week ago. And how would I do that? I would be developing, and then I would just have Claude go and evaluate that. Maybe I want also Claude to evaluate the style and other things. The ability for Claude to open up browser windows and do certain things and testing can actually be really, really handy, right? So no console errors found, and this is where we go. Okay, so that is an example of when you're doing development, having Claude access and open up browser windows. The final one that I'll kind of talk through is this idea of giving a sub-agent the ability to open up, perform browser tasks. And sub-agents are really useful. Again, think of them as personalized, very focused digital workers. We're going to give them a brain. We're going to give them some tools. And one of the tools that we're going to give them is this Claude in Chrome extension. I've already built a Claude subagent. That's a whole other lesson that is I think I've got another video around that. Certainly I have a whole other lesson on that. But let's kind of look at this particular one, and then I'll actually go into Cursor where I develop subagents. Claude will take you through the process. But what this agent really, what its goal is, I created it, and its goal is to go to x.com and again use my authenticated credentials. Go in there, find some latest posts around OpenAI, Anthropic, and the Gemini app. Kind of summarize those. What posts have been posted in the last 24 hours? Kind of summarize what those are. So in this example, Claude does need to open up the browser. It does need to go in an authenticated site and go find these steps and go find the actual accounts and can kind of go summarize them. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Cursor, and down here we can take a look at what this what this subagent does. So here's what it does. It'll monitor these accounts, and this is the workflow. These are the steps. And again, I've already created this using the /agents command in Claude Code. And I'm just going to ask it to do a little bit of work. So I'm going to come down here and say, please run, and I'm going to AI News Monitor. And if you're down here, you'll see here, if you just do tab, you don't have to type it. So I'm going to say, please kind of run that particular subagent. So let's see what it's going to do. Hopefully, it will open up a browser window and go and do that work. And we'll see kind of what it does. Now, there could be more around not only running it. Maybe I want it to create a markdown file and store the results. I certainly could do that. Well, we can do that. And I could say, and save the results in a new markdown file, right? Markdown is the preferred format for saving kind of everything. So let's see what it's going to do. I'm just going to run it. And again, it's what Claude's going to do. It's going to go, and you'll see I've configured that it's found the agent. And all the agents are under here, and I've asked it to go run it, and then so what it's done. I'll have to find the window, but it's actually opened up the kind of the Claude browser window, right? And this is where it's performing that task, and it's going through each of the steps. And again, what it's doing, it's controlling. Let me see if I can find the window. I've got too many windows open. But it's what it's doing, it's kind of going through each of those steps, and it's controlling the browser window. Okay. And if we want to actually see a bit more detail of what's going on, we could do this Control O. And this shows us all of the steps in the process, right? Actually, as it's doing its thing. And so it's going through, it'll go through OpenAI, it'll go through Anthropic, right? And if we do Control O, it'll close them up, right? So again, as it goes through here, I don't know where that's going to take us. We can see where that's going to take us. But it's basically going through, it's doing all the tool calls, and then eventually it will come back with the kind of the final information, which is kind of this summarized view of the latest posts of OpenAI, Gemini, and Claude. And so again, this could be handy if you've got agents where one of the tools that they actually need to do is go off and go and read and find information. And this is really handy if you've got, again, authenticated sites. And a lot of times we do. They might be a LinkedIn site, they might be HubSpot, those might be other things. And we need an agent to actually perform those steps in the process. And so being able to give it the sub-agent access to the Claude and Chrome extension will be kind of a really handy way to perform this task. Now, again, you want to be thoughtful around kind of the risk associated with giving a sub-agent access to some of these tools. So be thoughtful in that. I recommend things that would be low risk. You'd want to be able to test it, right? And you want to be able to ensure that it's not doing anything kind of high risk. And one of the steps in the process, right, could be maybe Claude goes out and gets everything for you and then presents you with the details. And then you're in a position to take kind of the final action. That's probably what I would recommend, certainly as you get started. So here it is. It's gone through a number of different tasks, and it's gone through 50 more tool uses. So let's see kind of where it actually is here. So yeah, I'll see if I can find I've got way too many browser-based windows open, but let me see if I can find it here. See where it actually is. Okay, let's see. It looks like it's getting, looks like it's done. Okay, so now let me save this to a markdown file. And so there you go. Here is the result. And again, in this mode, if you're in Cursor, which I love, with Claude Code, the red is deletes. Again, there's nothing there. Green is going to be the things that it adds. So I'm going to say, please make this. I'm going to save that. And there we go. This is the output summary. Okay. And that is the view. And again, once we have it in Markdown, we can do anything that we want. If we want to look at it a little bit prettier, we can hit this preview pane, right? So here we go. That was a sub-agent whose job was to go and get the latest information off these 3 X.com accounts for companies that I use their technology. And it's kind of summarized some of the latest information in the last couple of days. Again, this could be handy for cases where I am sharing synthesized information. Of course, I'm going to want to read it. I'm going to probably want to tweak it. But the actual task of going out to X.com, reading that information, gathering it, of course, I don't need to do that. It's not a great use of my time, but the ability to get that, filter it, think about my audience, tweak it, and then distribute it. That's kind of the expertise at the end. But certainly I would be saving lots of time by having this task kind of run. So I'm going to put this aside, and that is the ability for a sub-agent to open up a window, perform browser-based automation. Okay. So as I mentioned, there are these shortcuts. You'll find them in your Claude settings. And then what these become, as I mentioned, they become these ability for you to call them automatically. So again, I opened up a new tab here. You'll notice is that this is not in the window. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to add it to the tab group. So you see the silver kind of thing comes on. And I'm going to open up the chat, which is in this other window. I can go ahead and close this one. And you can come up here, and again, you go to settings, and this is where you're going to see all your shortcuts, as well as the ones that have been scheduled. Again, these could be really, really helpful. And the way, again, you find these is you come down here, if you want to use a shortcut, /. And you're going to see all of your shortcuts here, right? You're going to see all your, there's ones that I have here around going and kind of reviewing my LinkedIn messages. And again, be thoughtful around what workflows you put in the browser as well as the risk. And again, if you have something you want to record or you want to create one, so that's how you find all of your shortcuts. Just right there. And that'll be really, really handy. And again, all those can be things that you run. And I already kind of went through the ability to schedule these when you've got a shortcut. this is a useful way to have something, again, that's automatically run. You'll notice as I was doing recording, I think it was at 12 noon, there was a browser-based task that opened up. So the browser wasn't open. It actually opened up the browser and could go and perform that task. So that could be really handy. Maybe there's some things that you want run before you come to your desk before the beginning of the day. Again, maybe it's a bunch of news or other research that you want to be able to leverage. So different ways to leverage Claude. If you don't have any kind of browser-based task, start in Claude AI. Use Claude in Chrome where the workflow starts there. You need to have an authenticated site. You've got something where you can describe what the tasks are, and Claude will do a good job of kind of navigating it. Use Claude Desktop when you're kind of chatting, or maybe you have a workflow, and then you need Claude to go perform some browser-based task, and then maybe it comes back, and maybe the workflow really continues. And then again, if you're a developer or you're leveraging sub-agents, that would be a great way to use this Claude in Claude Code. That again, its ability to open up the browser. So I'm hoping that there was a lot of stuff there, but I'm hoping these different ways to use the Claude in Chrome extension, you'll find it really handy. Again, it's not perfect. It's going to be a little bit slow. It's not going to be exact. I would really kind of teach Claude for some of the things that you do kind of manually. And I look forward to seeing what you build. All right. Good luck.